All right, tell me your name, your age, and where you were raised.
I'm Patricia Smith Nixon, 78 years old, Wilmington, North Carolina.
This is my mother. How many siblings did you have?
4. There were 5 of us, 2 girls and 3 boys.
And who did you live with growing up?
My mother and my grandmother.
What was the dynamic like living in the home with little girl Pat?
Well, my father died when he was 28 years old, and my mother had 5 children, and the youngest one of her children was 6 months old. And my sister that was younger than I was like a year old, a year and a half. I was 2.5, and my brother was 3. And we had an older brother that was like 7, 8, or 9.
So your father passed away, so your mom and your grandmother raised you both?
Yes, he had leukemia, died at 28.
Living with your grandma and your mom, what did your grandmother and mother do for a living?
They were domestic workers. They cleaned people's houses.
And where did you grow up? Like what kind of neighborhood? They called it Wrightsville Sound, right?
Wrightsville Sound.
Now tell us about Wrightsville Sound.
It was like a couple of blocks from Rifle Beach, maybe 3 or 4. And it was a predominantly black community.
What was it like growing up in Wrightsville Sound? And I'm asking because growing up, we hear so much about Wrightsville Sound, and it almost sounds like fun, like the stories y'all tell.
Well, as children, it was fun for us because, I mean, you know, we did what children do, run and play and, you know, go to school when school was in and play all summer.
Now, living with your grandmother and your mother, how did that impact your life growing up? Like, what was that like growing up with your grandmother and your mother at the time? Well,
my grandmother was really the person that reared us because my mother's sort of took a backseat role to it when I think after our father died. And so my grandmother, we lived with her. And she was a strong person that raised us, brought us up in the church and worked hard 2 and 3 jobs at a time to make sure that we had all of the things that we needed. And we really did. She worked very hard, and we really did have maybe nicer things than kids that had a mother and a father in the house.
Wow, that's crazy.
All the schools I went to were segregated. I graduated from a segregated high school, Williston Senior High School.
Now, we were speaking about 6888. I've mentioned that a lot throughout the interviews. 6888 is a Tyler Perry movie that came out that really sparked the desire and the passion for this conversation. With 6888, they talked about, I had a video, and it talked about, you know, the pros and the cons of segregation. I know we kind of talked about this a little bit, but listening to you talk about going to school at Williston. Am I saying that right? Williston High School, a all-black school. What was it like going to Williston High School?
Well, it was a great experience. You know, I was a pretty good student. I was a debutante. I was in the Jabberwock. I was, when we went to school, you were categorized in the school by I don't want to say, the schools had, the classes had like 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C, you know, for the smarter on down, which I don't think was a good thing.
No, that's horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. But you knew where the smart kids, the classes, I mean, the homerooms and the classes that they took. And then I guess I was in like the second highest grade school, you know, I mean, room category for the kids that had abilities, you know. I really feel like that we got a quality education. That's what I'm going to say, because it has been said that coming out of Williston, you got equivalent to a 2-year college degree.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
What were some of the cons of going to Williston?
Williston. I think what it was that, you know, even in segregated communities, there could be segregation. So I think that if you weren't considered in the upper crust of the black community, it was very easy to be overlooked. Yes.
Now, you speak a lot about the brown paper bag. You know, how did colorism affect and take a play in Williston?
Well, if you were, it was a color. I mean, there's always been a saying: if you were light, you were all right. If you were black, get back. You know, and I think some of that did exist.
Yeah.
But I think with Williston, we did get a quality education. I don't think they cheated anybody out of their education. But as far as promoting students for encouraging you to go further in your education and assisting you as the best they could, I think a lot of that was given to the more prominent. You know, I think that's what I was accepted into 2 historically black schools, and then they weren't considered historically black. They were just considered black colleges. But I never got, I mean, they gave you the information to fill out the applications and all that, and you did. But after that, there was not a counselor to say, well, let's sit down and see how you qualify. Is there a financial aid? I don't think there was financial aid. I really don't know, because I never got any feedback from anybody, so I did not go to college.
Now, were you considered light skin or dark skin?
Dark skin.
Really?
Even in my family, I was considered dark skin. My grandmother put my sister had a redder tone than I did, and my grandmother was a very dark skinned lady, and my mama was a very bright colored person. Her father was a Milano, so she was a lighter complected.
He was biracial. Do you mean like mulatto?
Yeah, mulatto.
Oh, he was black and white.
Yeah, according to the stories that I was told. But the thing was, my grandmother considered me dark, so I wore, when she picked out colors for me to wear, I wore green, blues, and stuff, and different colors like that. And my sister, she wouldn't put red on me because she considered me too dark for red.
But you was lighter than Viv.
Not according to her. And let me say this, and I don't wear red. I will wear it for a holiday. I will wear it for Valentine's Day, Christmas, or something like that, but I don't wear red.
Even to this day?
Yeah. Have you ever seen me with anything red on? I wear it for a holiday or something, but I don't wear red clothes. You know.
Why? Because of the trauma?
I don't think it was trauma. I just don't wear red. And I don't wear red lipsticks or anything, nail polish or anything. I wear brown tone. You know, all I wear is red. Why don't you wear red nails? I don't like red lipstick, and I don't like red nail polish. I usually wear, but I don't have any on now.
Why?
But I just prefer it. To me, I think I don't like to be. I think it's too bold.
I love a good red lip and red nails or red toe.
I like to be sort of in the shadows of things. Yeah.
Growing up on the Sound, I really want to dig into that, because we hear about so many stories about life on the Sound, and it sounds really, really fun. You know, are there any like specific stories or anything that sticks out when you think about like growing up on the Sound with your brothers and your sisters?
I mean, during the summer, my grandmother was a very, she was a very good person to us. During the summers, when we got out of school, a lot of kids didn't have the things that we had, and she would buy us games to play with for the summer, jack rocks, different stuff to occupy our time for the summer. Flip flops to wear around, and different things like that. We had when she knew we were getting out of school, she would buy us like I said, jack rocks for the girls, balls for the boys, pads and stuff like that. Mama was an advanced lady she didn't want you to be idle.
Oh, that's sweet. So her mom, who was her mom and dad?
I don't know. I've never met them.
Looking back, this is our last interview, so we're a little bit more relaxed. Looking back as a grown woman, we were talking earlier about, wisdom and how it is when you grow up and you look at things a little bit differently. How do you think your grandmother was like mentally? You think she was a happy woman? Do you think she do you think inside, what do you think how was she?
I think that she gave up her life for us, because if it hadn't been for us, we would have probably been in foster care because of some of the situations that we were put in as children. So she became our legal guardian. Our mother lived with us, but she became our legal guardian. And so I think if she had not given up her social life, which she didn't drink or anything like that, so she really didn't have that great social life. But her freedom she wouldn't have had to work as hard as she did 2 and 3 jobs at a time to provide for us,
all the kids.
Yeah, because she didn't want us to be separated.
Did she date or no?
I don't remember her dating, but we were so stuck to her all the time, she couldn't have dated.
Wow, that is very, very interesting.
We loved the mama. My sister slept in the bed with her every night. Although she bought her a twin bed, she wouldn't sleep in her bed. She slept in the bed with mama.
That's actually very beautiful. I've never.
She did. Mama took some medicine, she wanted to take it.
How was your relationship with her? It seems like you guys were pretty close. Were you very close to your grandmother?
Yeah, all of us were. I loved my grandmother. I think I was stronger than, I was stronger.
When you say you love your grandmother, now again, because we know this is going to be for the grandkids and stuff, were you the kind of person that would like, I love you grandmother, and be hugging up on your grandma all the time?
I don't know whether the word love was something that was used, but we were look, my grandmother would work, and we lived at a long dirt road. In time for her to get off from work, we walked down to the end of that dirt road and sat there and waited for the white lady that dropped her off to put her out. That's how much we loved her.
What was if you think back to it, what was your fondest memory with your grandmother?
With my grandmother?
Yeah. What was the first memory that come to mind that was the most fondest memory with her?
I really don't know. I that would be a lot of thought into that. I can't come up with anything right now for that.
Was she at your wedding?
Yeah. She was there.
How did she act at your wedding?
She was happy.
Yeah. Did she like your husband?
Yeah, she loved it.
Wow. Did he like her? They got along really well?
Yeah, they got along very well.
So she was around for Lee, your oldest son,
and Sheldon.
Yeah,
Sheldon was 2 years old, my second oldest. She died when Sheldon, in December, Sheldon turned 2, and she died. I don't remember the date. I don't know if it was before Sheldon turned 2 or after he turned 2.
Now, you speak about your grandmother, with a lot of love and cherishment, obviously. When she passed away, how did that affect you?
The whole family was just tore up. We couldn't, I was.
Was it expected?
Yeah, she had a stroke and was in the hospital, but nobody wants somebody to die. And it was devastating to all of us. It was just awful. It was awful.
Jesus.
It was terrible. All of us were just so upset and distraught and couldn't hardly pull ourselves together. Even after she died, we were just, I was so upset about her dying till I had to call the pastor at her church one night and just talk to him because that's how upset I was.
Jesus.
And he told me just read the 23rd Psalm. I had to sleep with the Bible under my head. Oh, wow. I was upset.
That sounds. I've never heard you tell that story.
Oh, it was hurtful.
Did it take you a long time to get over it?
Yeah, and I'll never forget. Sheldon was always sick. Well, he had an upper respiratory thing all the time when he was a baby. So, and my grandmother loved my children just like she was their grandmother. And she and mother used to have arguments about it. And I had to sleep in the bedroom with Sheldon. He was in his crib, and I slept in that room with him that night. And I felt something coming down the hall. I felt a spirit. I was terrified. I was terrified. I knew it was her. I knew it was her. Because I had told her, Mama, if you die, please don't ever come back. And she said, Pat, I know you're afraid I would never come back. But that night, that spirit was coming down the hall. I couldn't even move. I was in that bedroom with Sheldon, and I felt it just moving on the other side of the wall. And it came, Sheldon was really sick, and it came to the doorway and just stopped. And then it was gone. I was terrified.
How old were you?
I was probably about 30, 31 years old.
Oh.
I was terrified. I know it was her. And I don't necessarily believe in stuff like that, but that was her. And she was coming to check on him. That's how much she loved them. Loved them, my children.
Wow.
And us. Ooh, I was terrified.
She come check on me.
I think that was her last visit.
Racism in Wilmington. I know that you've experienced a lot. You told us a story about, having to say yes, ma'am, to somebody.
Yeah, I was doing, when we were in school, the demonstrations were going on. and they would let the kids out. We had to catch the bus. We were called country kids. We had to catch the bus to go to school. So we didn't have a way to get home from in town. That's what we called it, unless we caught the bus back. So my grandmother said that we could not demonstrate. We couldn't demonstrate. They would leave school and go downtown and demonstrate, the boycotts that was going on and whatever. And we couldn't do it. So that summer, during the summer, we would work for these white people on the beach because they came from out of town. And you worked, well, when you were younger, a child, if your mother cleaned their house and you were 12 or 13 years old, you went over on Rice Beach to play with the kids. But you could go to the water, to the edge of the water with them. But you couldn't go in the water because you were black. Jesus. And my mama said, whatever you do, just let your feet get wet. But you cannot go and don't sit down, don't do anything. All you do is just go to hold their hand and you go to the end of the water. And they were in there cleaning the house. But this time I was, must have been going to the 12th grade. I was in the summer. I didn't want, this was my protest. So I refused to say yes, ma'am, to that lady. And I would just say yes and no, yes and no. And
respectfully.
Yes, yes, no. And I may have said it a little stronger. And so I had to catch the bus to go to work to her house, and the bus would go past her house and go down and make a U-turn and come back. So that particular day, I got off of the bus, and the bus stopped right in front of her house, and she met me at the door, and she told me that if I could not say yes, ma'am, to her, that I did not have a job. So I turned around and caught the bus back, and back home, and I told mother that I didn't have a job, and I told her why. So my sister was working for this lady, so we switched jobs because evidently that lady didn't care whether you say yes, ma'am. So Viv went to work for the woman and I guess she said yes, ma'am.
Was your mom mad that you lost your job?
No.
You're talking about putting your feet in the water. Was there other things? Because people don't realize how unfar removed we are from sitting in the back of the bus and putting your feet in the water. We sat in the back
of the bus. We used to have to go what we called to town, and we caught the bus, and we had to sit in the back of the bus. You could not sit in the front of the bus. When you went downtown to different stores, and they had what they call 5 and dimes, and they had like a place where you could buy hot dogs and whatever, and you couldn't go to the counter. You had to go to the end of the counter and order your food, and you couldn't sit in there and eat it. You had to go. We went to the bus stop where we caught the bus to go back home and ate our hot dogs. You could not go. And on Riceville Sound, right across the bridge, we could have walked to these restaurants, and we couldn't go in the restaurants to eat. You had to go to the back door and order your food.
And so, is this something that your parents just teach you when you become of a certain age and you start going out in the world? Like, do your parents just say, "Hey, you can't do this, you can't do that"? Like, is that just a conversation?
No, I don't think it was a conversation. I think it was just an understood thing. We never would have attempted before the Greensboro demonstration, and people started boycotting and fighting for their rights. We never would have thought that. You probably were insulted that you couldn't go.
Yeah.
But you couldn't go sit at the counter. And you had to go to the back door. You couldn't go in a restaurant unless it was a black restaurant in town.
Even to this day, you're a bit triggered if somebody sits you towards the back. Do you feel like that's because of your experiences growing up?
Yes. I don't think that because I don't like to be seated near the bathroom nor all the way at the back of any restaurant. Wow. Yeah, I don't like it.
Even all those years from then?
Yes.
Did you guys participate?
And they still do it. They will pass by the best tables there are. And a lot, like somebody was saying today that you interviewed, people now don't really understand sometimes when they're being discriminated against,
Did you have any experiences of like racism or like racial acts with like the Ku Klux Klan or anything like that? No? Growing up, you didn't have any of that?
No, we didn't have anything like that.
No. It's interesting. So did you ever have any experiences like with Ku Klux Klan outside of your community? What about, did you ever see anybody hung or lynched?
No. Please.
I'll edit this out.
No, we didn't live like, no, We heard, you've heard, I mean, we heard about it, but we didn't, I mean, you know, your parents talked about it, but I don't think they really knew anybody
Jesus.
that in that particular time that had been lynched. I'm sure they knew of some instances when they were children or were told something like that. You know.
And your grandmother never talked to you about people being lynched?
No, she talked to us about the 1898 riot, and she talked about it in very hushed tones, and she told us that the people in downtown Wilmington who had black people were firemen and police and different things, and how they had burned their homes and run them out of town.
Did you participate in any kind of civil rights movements or anything?
No, because we couldn't, because my grandmother wouldn't let us. We had to catch. The only time we went to town was on the school bus, or we went on Saturday with Mama to do her shopping and whatever. Now, I heard somebody you interviewed today said that the only place that they went to do their shopping was on 4th Street. We did not go on 4th Street. We went downtown Wilmington. My grandmother went to do her shopping.
And downtown Wilmington was a white businesses?
Yeah, everything was white businesses. And also 4th Street was Jewish and white businesses and all. But I think it was the area of where you came from. Like those people, the person that was telling you today that they did 4th Street, they came from over in Brunswick County. So they seem to have gravitated more towards 4th Street. My grandmother did her shopping downtown to the grocery stores down there. We didn't go on 4th Street.
I've heard you speak before about where you were when you heard that Martin Luther King was assassinated. Where were you, and do you remember how you felt at that time?
I don't remember exactly where I was, but I was married, and we were living off of 10th and Orange in Wilmington, and there was so much rioting, and black people were rioting, and maybe rioting is not the word. They were protesting. That's a good word. And they had to call, the National Guard had tanks and stuff riding in the streets of Wilmington.
Now, because I have to ask, how do you think, like, living in that time and era, living with your grandmother, living in the time of racism, going through segregation to desegregation, how do you think that shaped your life, right? Because you have 3 sons, one beautiful baby girl.
Yeah.
How do you think that your experiences affected how you was as a wife and a mother?
I think it made me very protective of my children, you know, and different things. I'll never forget, they were doing, having something at College Park, and I don't think you were born. I think Sheldon may have been in it, PTA. And I used to go to the PTA meetings and whatever, and they were having a fall festival, some kind of festival. So you volunteered to do different things that, you know, they were selling hot dogs and you had games and whatever. So I volunteered, I think it was, to help with a game or something. I know I didn't volunteer to work in the kitchen to serve hot dogs. And when I got to there to take my post, they had switched me to the kitchen. Now, you know, I was insulted. And I said, oh no, you can just have it. And I left because they had given it to somebody else, and they had put me, and I always thought because I was black, they put me in the kitchen. And I wasn't going to do it, and I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't.
What was it like riding in the back of the bus?
Well, at first it was normal. You know, you didn't like it. You felt inferior or mad. Might not have been inferior, because I don't think we felt inferior. We didn't like it. You know, older people just accepted it, but we didn't like it. But when they started all the demonstrations and whatever, you know, you were really, it fueled you. But then when we could ride, when they integrated the buses and said that you didn't, and these were the city buses that you paid to ride on. You paid fare, and you still had to ride past that, you know, that door, that middle door. You couldn't sit past the middle door. You had to sit back behind.
Right.
And even you had to, if you had to stand up if it was seats available up front, and all the seats in the back were taken up. I mean, the men or whoever would stand up. But when we were when they integrated and you could do it, we sat in the front. You know, the bus drivers didn't like it, but they didn't have any choice.
Let's do a little pivot here. You know, I discussed with other people about the relationships in current America, right? And you obviously you have 3 sons, 1 beautiful daughter. There is a large debate culture amongst Black men and Black women right now. There's a lot of division in Black relationships. Black women feel like Black men are not holding up their end of the bargain. Black women feel, you know, vice versa. What do you think impacts this divide when it comes to Black men versus Black women? So to be more specific, you know, Black women are feeling like men are not equipped to lead households. They're not matching how they should financially when it comes to, you know, paying for bills and things of that nature. What are your thoughts on that? Like, you were married for 50 years. You know, you seem to have a good life, you know, good marriage, good healthy situation. But everybody now getting divorced, you know, getting tired of somebody throwing them away, whatever the case might be. What are your opinions and thoughts to couples and Black people when it comes to like the whole marriage and dating and all the debate culture?
Oh, well, I was just told that dynamic was out there by one of my sons about a few months ago. But I mean, I'll say I didn't experience that. My husband, we weren't rich, and we certainly still are not. But the thing is, he paid the mortgage, he paid the utilities, and he bought the food. Now, when I worked, I would buy what I wanted for the house. I would buy the clothes and things that I wanted for my children. I bought clothes and things that I wanted for him. And if I wanted something special, I bought it. But I didn't buy the food. I did not buy I didn't pay the mortgage, and I didn't pay the utilities. And I never bought a car until I think you were in college, and I saw this car that I wanted and I bought it. But the problem with that was all the cars were in his name, and I didn't ever know what he was going to do, because he would trade the cars and come home with a different car all the time, and I didn't like it. And so I said to him, well, the next time we get a car, my name is going to be on it too, because it's not fair to me. I have a right to know what is going on. But this was the situation. During the times when I didn't work, he gave me an allowance, $25 a week. That was a lot of money or something. But when he got paid, he worked night shift, and he got paid on Thursday night. So on Friday, we would go to the bank. Now, he knew that he was supposed to give me my $25. He went in the bank, cashed his check, and put the money in his pocket, in his wallet, and put it in his pocket. So when he came back to the car, he never just handed me the money. I would say, well, where is my money? And then he would go in his wallet and take it out and give it to me.
Y'all were married?
Yes, but my whole thing was, when you went in the bank and you cashed that check, you knew you were supposed to give me $25. So that was a message.
Power.
Yes, it was power.
Wow.
It was power.
Now, was he working?
Was I working?
You weren't working?
No, the times when I didn't work, he gave me a weekly.
Jesus, like a child.
Yeah.
And you was fine with that?
Yeah, because at that particular time, $25 went a long ways. Yeah. I wasn't paying any bills with it. Wow. You know? So, I mean, I could get my hair done and buy what I wanted. If I wanted something, you know, if y'all needed something, he was paying for that.
So, wow, that's beautiful. Do you feel like, because they always say that right now women are saying that they want a leader, a provider. You know, that's the thing. Like, that's the toxic conversation in culture right now. A man gotta be a leader. A man gotta be a provider. You have 3 sons. Why do you think that so many men are not fitting the bill of being providers and leaders in their household?
I think that the problem with Black men is education. I think that is the main thing. I think Black women have outpaced them when it comes to education, so therefore they can get a better job. I don't blame if you want to make it in the world, you have to be educated in order to get a job, a decent enough job to provide for your family. It's as simple as that. Or I think that now this may sound sort of, I don't know, you can describe what it may sound like, but to me, if you don't make but $60,000 a year, then don't go after a woman that makes $200,000. If it's going to do something to your masculinity, it's going to make you feel bad, because eventually the woman is going to feel like that she's taking care of you. It's as simple as that.
But see, a lot of men are arguing now that that's the reason why so many black women are lonely and single, because they making all this money. They can't find out. They don't want to settle for a man that makes less. So they degrade the men who make less, complain about them, and then they stay single. And then they complain that they cannot find a man. So you don't believe that if a woman is making $150 a year and there's men that's out here making $60 a year, do you think that's deemed as settling?
I don't think it's settling, but I think that if you can't live with that situation, then you shouldn't get in it. It's as simple as that. I wouldn't. I wouldn't marry a man, or a man that if I made $200,000 a year and he made 75.
Really? I remember when I was interviewing Joyce, and she had a very strong feeling that, women nowadays have a freedom that she feels like she did not have. Like, they can choose their careers. They can do a lot of things that in y'all's day, y'all got out of high school, got married, started a family, got a job, and, kept it moving. Honestly, if you had an option to focus on your career, if that was actually a real option for you, would you have focused on your career, your education, or would you still have continued with immediately getting married and starting a family?
No, I would have focused on my education. I would have focused on my education. And I really don't think, if I had focused on my education, that I probably would not have married that soon. And I don't know whether I would have married your father, because I don't think that we would be, I think we'd be two different arenas of life. I really do. Now when I finally did end up getting my degree and everything, he was very supportive. I mean, I took classes day and night, and at night he didn't want me out trying to find my way to my car, so he took me to my classes and picked me up.
Let's talk about that. Because I think that that's something that not only me, but women struggle with this. Your husband took you to your classes, warmed your car, put gas in your tank, gave you an allowance. Well, a lot of women don't get to experience that. What was that experience like? Like, having a husband like that, what type of things did he do to make your life easier that sticks out now? Oh,
still, because I never took my trash out. He's been dead 10 years. What is the word I can use to take the trash out and it go to the mailbox? It is very disturbing to me to have to do it. Even after 10 years of him being dead, I hate to go to the mailbox, and I hate to take my trash out, and I get very anxious if anything goes wrong with my car and I have to take it to have anything done to it. I have almost an anxiety attack because I did not do those things. If he could help it, I never got in a cold car. I drove the best car that we had. He locked the house up at night. He was protective.
Why are men these days not like that, do you think?
I don't know. I think my sons are.
Yeah.
Because they saw their father do it, and I think that a lack of men in the family, in the homes, is they are not raised to see that pattern of life. I really do. I mean, I never, even to take my trash out now I get anxious. I hate to take my trash out. It'd be 2 and 3 days before I check my mail.
Now, again, before we close, give me these two things. What would be your advice to married women, and what would be your advice to single women? A single woman out here wanting to be married. What's your advice?
Be careful.
Jesus.
Be careful. And this, we had a discussion. I don't know whether you want me to say this. I'm in a senior group with, we have discussions all the time about men and women and whatever. And we were talking about the fact that sometimes, men are manipulative, because a lady was telling a situation about this young lady that she knew, and she met this young man, and he made like he was so religious and whatever, and he didn't want to have any relations with her until they got married, and she thought it was a great thing. She thought it was a great thing. But after she got married to him, she found out why.
Why?
And it was just a bad situation. And he wasn't capable of it. Yeah, and she tolerated it for 2 or 3 years, and she just couldn't do it anymore. She just had to leave. And our advice from my senior group, do you want to hear? Yeah. Test the water before, because you don't know what you might be getting.
That's awful.
It's awful, but it's the truth. It is the truth. The lady was so disappointed until she didn't know what to do, and she tolerated it because she thought that he was so religious, and that he was doing that because he thought so much of her and all, and brainwashed her into this. And when she married him, that was the most disappointing thing in her life.
But was he a good man other than that?
I don't know. I don't think she could get past that.
That's wild. If I had a good man, that was a good man that treated me right, and that was just his issue, I would not care.
Well, we had that discussion too.
What did they say?
That came up, and the thing was, people, the discussion went in that direction, and somebody said, well, no, I think I could tolerate it. Then the lady turned around and said, oh, no, I couldn't. And I didn't. I didn't.
That's crazy.
So he was a good man and whatever, but I just couldn't take it.
There is no way I'd be with a really good man. And maybe because, a lot of y'all haven't had a lot of experiences, as far as dating and stuff like that. But listen, that's the least of my worries. If a man treated me right, we were compatible. I don't care about that. He had money. Ain't nobody gonna be perfect. It's 80-20 rule.
But that's a lot.
Listen, what would, so wait, is that the advice for the single women or the married women?
It's advice for the single women.
So how about the married women? You had a successful marriage for 50 years. What kept your marriage successful for 50 years?
You have to tolerate things. There are times you have to bite your tongue. You have to take stuff.
You bit your tongue?
Yes, I bit my tongue. Whether y'all believe it or not, I bit my tongue. I did. I really did. I knew the things that would trigger my husband and what would take him over and really make him angry, because he didn't get angry. And he didn't curse, and he didn't use curse words. If he used the word damn, I knew I was in trouble. But I knew how far to take it. I knew exactly how far to take it. I did. And you have to know the man and know how far to take it. Some women take it too far.
When do you
arguments and whatever. You can get a man to do anything you want. This is my thing. I said I could make me a man if a man, and my husband, I could make a man if I could breathe the breath of life in him. That's how well I knew him. I could make him. If I could breathe the breath of life in him, I could make me a man. I'm telling you.
As a woman, when should a woman know when she should leave a situation?
If it's abusive. Now, and if you can't tolerate some other things, but if you just clearly unhappy, don't stay. If you're just unhappy.
All right, in closing, is there anything that you want to share with us before we close? Now, I'm certain that your grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren, your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren are going to see this. What would you want to say to them?
I love you. People say, what will you... Everybody wasn't put on earth to be famous, to do something glamorous or whatever. I always felt that I was put on earth to be a mother. Now, because you don't know who you are the mother of, the great-grandmother of, or whatever. It could be a person that one of my great-great-grandchildren could be put on earth just to reach out to catch somebody to keep him from walking into a car and being killed. So you don't know what your purpose, Right. I don't think everybody was. I think I had a good life. I'm happy, and I'm still happy. And
you're still here.
Yeah, that's right. I'm thankful that I'm here and in reasonable good health. But I just don't think. I think people think that they are supposed to be what they see that somebody else is, and that's not. Be thankful for what you have, because everybody wasn't put on earth. Your purpose may not be to be famous and to be on TV and to be rich.
Right. And it seems like you know, I know you guys have 4 children, which was like a lot compared to some of your other friends. You guys had to do a lot of sacrifices for your kids, but then fast forward, some of the people that had the 1 and 2 kids, you know, them 2 kids turned out the best.
And they haven't done as much for their parents gave them more because it was only 2 of them, and they haven't done as much to be there for their parents as 4 kids have done to be there for me. You know, so I mean, and I really think that the problem is Black mothers need to look at not letting their sons be men. You know, your son is not your man. He is not your man, and he is not get you a man. He is not your man. Let him have a life and his wife and his family, and have your life. Don't interfere in it. You know, and I think that is one of the biggest problems with Black women, is that they will not allow their sons to be men. They want to cover for them and think everything they do is cute. They're grown men. They living with you. They don't work. You making excuses for them. The grandson's living there. He's not paying any money. And that's not going to happen with me. You know.
So Sheldon can't move back.
Sheldon can't move back. Daryl nor Lee. Keep Sharon and April and LaFonia. Keep your husbands, honey.
This is how we're going to close this. You have 4 children, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to name a child, and you tell me your favorite thing about that child. Lee, that's your firstborn. That's your oldest. Like, what is it special about Lee that comes to mind when you hear Lee?
His organization. He's a very organized person. He's thoughtful, and he's wise.
How was he growing up?
He was, he had a little mean streak when he was a little boy. He really did. Yeah, he did. He used to hold his breath and pass out when he couldn't get his way. Yeah, he was Mr. Innocent. Yeah.
Daryl, what's your favorite thing about him?
He likes to find the best in everything. You know, if I say something, he'll say, "Well, you might want to look at it like this." You know. And my children give me good, wise advice. They do.
How was Daryl growing up?
Quiet.
Clingy.
Well, when he was a baby, he was very clingy, you know, and then he was a little rebellious, and when he got to be a teenager, he had that angry teenager, mentality. But, you know.
What comes to mind with Sheldon?
Busy as a bee in everything, does everything. I don't even see where he finds the time to sleep, because he does everything. You know, and that is who he is. He loves it.
Has he always been that way?
Yes. Always was in everything, volunteered. If somebody asked a question, his hand was the first hand up, and he's always been busy from the time he was born.
Jesus. And lastly, your favorite?
My favorite daughter.
Melanie.
My only daughter. Inquisitive. Deep questions. Deep questions that you hadn't even thought of the answer.
I make you think about your childhood trauma.
I don't want to think about it, because I really don't think I have childhood trauma. I think that something about the things that I say make you think that I do, but I really don't.
And how was Melanie growing up?
Busy. Like Sheldon. Volunteered for everything. Was in everything. Everything. You know. But teenage years, she was like Daryl, like all of them were. But
would you ever have thought that you'd be on my show? Nationally syndicated?
No, I certainly wouldn't have.
Well, listen, Patricia, we're grateful that you are on the show today. This is going to be an amazing 3-part documentary that we're going to have. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Patricia Smith Nixon, 78 years old.
No, don't use that voice.
Huh?
Use your real voice.
Well, I am Patricia Smith Nixon.